What's up, and welcome to the Scott Mann Podcast. Our guest today, I'm so excited about, a dear friend of mine, Gabriela Rivero Camargo, is going to be joining us in just a few minutes. And let me just tell you a little bit. She goes by Gabby, at least with me, and those that know her. Gabby is the founder and managing director of the Stay in Step Foundation. She grew up in Venezuela, and she graduated from law school in Caracas, Venezuela in 1998. She has over 10 years of work experience with administration and legal field, and she's very, very advanced in her skills with human relations and interpersonal interactions, human connection, connecting like her life depends on it. She exudes it, exemplifies it every day, and when you'll see in the interview that her ability to build social capital and employ old school interpersonal skills is of the highest order. For more than 5 years, Gabby has been an advocate for the military and civilian spouses and family members of people with spinal cord injuries. Not only has she had to live it, she has actively advocated for them. Her love, her compassion, her dedication, and her loyalty to her husband, Romy, and her desire to help people with spinal cord injuries is the motivation behind this project that you're going to hear about today, this great project called Stay in Step Center, which is in Tampa. Now, Gabby's approach is not just to manage and provide a service through Stay in Step and living with spinal cord injury, but sharing with people who've been through this an attitude of faith and hope and optimism that during the process of rehabilitation and recovery, there is a better day waiting on you. And again, she lives it every day. I cannot wait for you all to meet her and spend time with her. So let's jump right into the interview. And hey, by the way, if you're not part of our Scott Mann family over on Patreon, what the hell are you waiting for? Get over there and you can be part of an amazing conversation that we had with Romy and Gabby together. These interviews are separate. You can only see the interview together on Patreon. So go check it out, man. It is a really, really cool way to have access to the podcast and also to get behind the scenes stuff. So go check it out. And without any further ado, let's jump into the interview with Gaby Camargo. I'll see you on the other side. Welcome to the Scott Mann Podcast, where we connect like our lives depend on it. So, Gabby, it's amazing to have you here again. I'm excited because I feel like, when I have conversations with Romy, it's one thing. When you and I have conversations, it's another thing. And you and I go like 120 miles an hour when we're talking, which is always fun for me. And you've got such vision. And it's just so each conversation that I have is really different and cool. Romy and I had an amazing conversation. And this one, I want to dial into your journey. And I actually want to go a couple of different directions here on this talk with you. Some things that I've never asked before that I'm interested to get your perspective. But the first thing, I asked Romy this question, and I'd like to get yours too. With everything that you all have been through, everything that Romy's been through, everything that you've been through, your family, to include enduring warfare. I mean, you were a family at war. And then you lived the aftermath of that. And then you kind of watched the country turn the page and move on after the war ended. Yet, even these years later, after the war has ended, when people will say something to Romy like, thank you, or he'll always say, the American people are worth it. And I'm just curious, for you, when you hear that, what goes through your mind?
Oh, my God. A lot of things. The first thing that comes to my mind is the sacrifices.
Yeah.
And I say sacrifices because I don't think that Romulo sacrificed just one thing when he was fighting over there. I mean, it was a time that we were separated. So we were sacrificing a lot as a family. So when I hear people saying, oh, just thank you for your service, and then watching the news and seeing what happened in Afghanistan, the first thing that comes to my mind is if it was worth it.
Right.
I mean, for us, I'm a woman of faith. And when you have faith, you have a different perspective of life. And and you learn how to live with your reality, how to overcome adversities. But going back to your question, what comes to my mind is like all the sacrifices, all the time that he was spending over there, and us as a family supporting him because I was the one in charge. Andres was a year and a half old. So I don't know, Scott. I remember watching the news with Romulo that day when they were taking the palace. And I saw his face, and he was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I'm paralyzed for this. So again, we found our purpose in life, and what we do now is a mission.
Yeah.
And that's very rewarding. But so many things that I can share with you, but I will say just that I don't think that people realize that the military people, they sacrifice a lot.
A lot.
And I'm an immigrant. I didn't grow up in this country. I'm from Venezuela. We lost our country. So that's what I'm so grateful with, being here, the opportunity to do what I do now. So I guess that I have more sense of appreciation for this freedom than a lot of people that were born here in the U.S.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm that I'm very pro-military.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for what you guys did, what you guys do now, because the mission is not over.
Right. It's not.
I mean, maybe it's a different field.
Yeah.
But the commitment is still there.
It really helps to hear from you and other family members about how you felt when the war ended the way it did, because I still believe that there needs to be accountability. I
agree.
think that questions need to be answered and people need to be held accountable for these decisions,
100%.
including senior officers, not just politicians. I think that, and so I appreciate you saying that. And what I can tell you is that we're going to continue to pursue accountability. We're not going to just let it go because, like you said, the mission's not over.
No.
We're going to end up doing this again in another country.
Yes.
And that can't happen. You mentioned being an immigrant. You mentioned being from Venezuela. Talk a little bit about growing up in Venezuela and what and coming here. Talk a little bit about your first kiss too.
Yes. Right there, that's a very unique story. Great memories growing up in Venezuela. I'm the number 6 of 7 siblings.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay. Where do you stack in the lineup there? Are you youngest or
youngest?
Okay.
Yes. Great parents. I grew up in Venezuela in having an abundant country. With everything. Our culture, I love my culture still. And then I met Romulo when we were 12 years old. You know that. That he gave me my first kiss. I know that I was not his first kiss, for sure. But he was mine.
He kind of hinted like it was the other way around. I don't buy it.
Yeah. He gave me my first kiss when we were 14 years old. And then, because Romulo was spending summer in Venezuela.
Right. From the States.
Something that I think that his mom did an amazing job raising her kids. Because...
she's quite a lady.
Oh, yes. So Romulo was visiting Venezuela during summertime and spending like 2 months over there. And we were together until we were 17 years old, because Romy and we are the same age. I'm actually older than him for 9 days. And then when I was 18 years old, I didn't see Romulo because I went to law school.
Right.
And he was in the process to join the army. And then we reconnected back in 2000.
Okay.
So...
What was that like?
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that. honestly, because in 2000,
what were you doing at this point?
that's what I want to share with you. In 2000, I was working with the governor in my state.
Okay.
I was part of his legal team. But politics, he didn't win the election, so I went out.
Okay. So you were an attorney at this point?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes. I graduated back in 1998
Got it.
in Venezuela.
Okay.
So we're talking about 2000. And then I remember that I decided to take a break. And I had a few days off, so I came to the U.S. And the plan was to stay here for 10 days. And I ended up staying here.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Almost 25 years later.
Oh, man. 10 days turned into 25 years.
I know. And I was not expecting to see him, honestly.
Really?
No, not at all. But his cousin, who is my best friend still, she told me, hey, guess who is here? We were in Orlando. Romulo is in Crystal River. So it will be good if you guys reconnect. So that's how the whole journey started again. Yeah.
Okay, so when did you guys get married?
In 2016.
Okay, 2016, you get married, and
2006.
Six.
Yes.
I was going to say, okay. And that started for you, the journey as a Special Forces spouse at Fort Bragg, and eventually a Special Forces mom. What was that like, because the war had started,
That's
right?
correct.
9/11 had started. So 7th Special Forces Group was already going back and forth to Afghanistan. What was life like for you as someone married to a Green Beret?
Oh, my God. Scott, I remember when the 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Like it was yesterday. Because Romulo was deployed it was his first deployment to Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that we moved to this new neighborhood where I was the only one there, living there, because they were, they were building more houses.
Yeah.
But our house was done, so we were living there. He was deployed to Colombia, and I was there by myself when 9/11 happened. But if I go back, for me, coming from Venezuela, now I'm with Romulo was doing the Special Forces course. It was adapting to my new reality, understanding the military life, which is not easy, by the way.
Not at all.
And trying to process that I will be dealing with that reality not just one time, but being married to a Special Forces guy.
Yeah.
You guys were deployed all the time.
I was telling Romy that one of the senior officers right after 9/11 told me, he said, Scott, the new reality is there's two phases of your life. You're either going to be in Afghanistan or you're going to be getting ready to go back. And that really was our life, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes. And when 9/11 happened, Romulo was in Argentina.
Yeah.
And of course, for me, I was a little bit confused because I didn't know.
Right.
The
You're still kind of figuring it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And by myself, I didn't speak English back then. Mm-hmm. I'm still learning.
Oh, no. You've got it.
But I remember that for me was very, very, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
Because when that happened, Fort Bragg, they decided to close Fort Bragg. And then I was going there, I was doing this English training over there, taking classes, and then I couldn't go anymore. And then, everybody, I remember talking to a few people, didn't know what to do, what to expect. So
it was a scary time.
It was a very scary time.
Yeah.
And then Romulo, he didn't know if they changed his plans. So
right.
I remember that at the beginning for me was very difficult. Number one, the language. Number two, accepting that now I'm with a special forces guy
Yeah.
that, he may not be with me. Just to give you an example, in 2002, I'm talking about 2001, but in 2002, I saw him just for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And going back to 2001, when he came back from his trip to Argentina, he stayed with me for like 2 months and then deployed again.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand that Green
No.
Berets, even before 9/11, were deployed half the year sometimes.
Exactly. So I was in the process to understand my new reality, but when 9/11 happened, it changed the whole
It changed
thing.
our whole life.
Yes.
Now, Romy's first deployment, if I remember, was to Afghanistan, was 0405.
That's correct.
And I went with him.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because you were already dealing with the deployments, but now you have the added stress of a country at war, going to a place that's at war, where we lost a lot of guys on that deployment.
Oh, yes.
We lost, I think, maybe 5. It's more than that wounded. What was that like for you, kind of thrown into the Special Forces world, and now you see casualties coming home? What's going on there?
To be honest with you, the first deployment to Afghanistan, of course, I was praying the whole time.
Yeah.
But that one in particular, I was not as scared about it.
Okay.
I mean, I was always praying and making sure to send him everything that he needed, the boxes and letters, and, provide him the support that he needed back then. But for me, was his last tour.
Really?
In 2008.
Why don't we just go to that? What was it about that tour that?
I don't know how can I explain to you, but I had a feeling that something may happen to him.
Really?
Yes.
Now, at this point, he's a warrant officer.
Yes.
He's the second in charge on the team.
Yes.
This will be his 3rd trip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. But I remember, Scott, when I went to Fort Bragg with 2 other friends. I mean, I say bye to him, Andres, our son.
Yeah, you had a little one at that time.
The little one was a year old.
Okay.
1 year old. And I remember that, I was feeling okay. And then when I went back home, that's when I had this weird feeling, sensation about something is going to happen to him. And I remember that I started crying. And my friend, she was next to me, what's going on with you? And I was just crying and crying. And I remember telling her, I cannot breathe. Well, let me give you some hot tea. Maybe that's going to help you. And I felt very sad, but I couldn't understand all the emotions, and I thought that it was normal. And then I will say a month later, maybe a month and a half, I decided to go to Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
I spent some time with my family. But even when I was there, surrounded by my family, I had that feeling that something may happen to Romulo. And the day that he got shot, again, I'm all about faith, connecting with God and spiritual world. That's Gabby. And I remember the day that he got shot.
That was September 16th?
September 16th.
2008.
Yes, because I went to Venezuela. I spent 2 months over there. I came back in the middle of August. And again, every time that he was calling me, it was like, are you okay? And that was not the typical question for me to him.
Right.
But the day that he got shot, I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I didn't know why.
And you hadn't been told anything yet at this point? You knew nothing?
No.
You just woke up?
No. I just, I don't want to say that I felt something, but something woke me up at that moment. And then I couldn't sleep. I decided, okay, let me make some coffee. And I'm talking about 7:30 a.m. That was on September 16, 2008. And my birthday, I don't know if you remember my birthday,
I do.
but it's on September 19th.
On 19th, the day he came into
Exactly. So I was planning to buy a few things for my birthday party that day. And that's when I received the first phone call. And we're talking about 10:30, 11 a.m.
Okay.
And was one of his teammates.
Take us through that. Like, what was going on around you when the call came, and what were you thinking?
I had this feeling since the day that he left. So that particular day when his teammate calls me, I felt something weird. My entire body, I was shaking, and I was like, hey, Gabby, that was his friend. How are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm doing well, thank you. Are you at home? That was his first question. And I say, no, I'm not. Why? Is everything okay? Yes, everything is okay, but I have a package for you. So I was like, okay, I'm not there, but I can be there in like 25 minutes. So after the phone call, I was with my sister and one of my good friends. And she was like, are you okay? I guess that they saw my face. And I was like, I don't know. I received this phone call, but I didn't like the phone call. Even when he didn't say, he said that everything is good, everything is okay. But I don't know why I feel this way. So I went back home, and then I will say 10 minutes later, I hear when someone was knocking the door, and it was him and another person from the unit. And that's when they told me, we need to talk to you. In that moment, for someone that is still learning about the military life, I didn't know that if you wear the regular uniform, how do you call that one?
Like the dress uniform?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Class A?
That means that someone
Right.
died.
Right.
But the other one, it doesn't mean that.
Right.
So for me, I didn't see the uniform. I just saw them in my mind.
You knew something was wrong.
Something is wrong, and they told me, Gabby, we need to talk to you. And I remember telling them, just tell me that he's okay. We need to talk to you. So when they gave me the news at that moment, they didn't know his condition. Mm-hmm. They just told me, hey, Romulo, your husband was wounded during an ambush. And they were trying to explain to me at that time that the bullet hit his neck. They didn't know if it was cervical 1, 2, or 3. For someone like me, what I was processing, okay, is he alive?
Right.
Or how is he doing?
Yeah.
They were trying to explain to me that he was wounded during a fight, and give me more details, but I didn't understand the whole explanation.
Yeah.
So I remember telling them, of course, I was crying in shock. And I remember telling them, look at me, because I believe in God. I was crying. I believe in God. And in 3 days, it will be my birthday. And I know for sure that he will be my best gift. And of course, they were like, yes, we know that. And that's how the whole journey started.
That's amazing. So you're obviously you're terrified in that moment and you find this out, but you clearly had some strength from your faith. And did you notice that showed up, or was it just there? Or, was there a moment when you kind of felt that strength come to you, or was it just there? How did that happen?
It was there.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Christian family in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And once you plant the seed, it's always there.
Yeah.
So I guess that was me. In 2008, I'm a believer, Scott. and I'm all about relationship.
Yep.
I'm not a religious person. So when that happened to Romulo, I immediately say, I trust you.
Right.
So
So what's going through your mind at this point when you said he's going to be okay, he's going to be my greatest gift? What are the things that you're thinking about now that you need to do?
well, it was very overwhelming because at that point, Romulo was the only person wounded.
Right.
So imagine the amount of phone calls that I was receiving that day. A lot of people calling me from the military community and then his family.
Yeah.
So I was trying to process everything, but at the same time, trying to give an update to his mother, his brother. So it was a lot. But something that I have to say about the Special Forces community is that I was amazed by the amount of support.
Right.
It's unbelievable. I don't think that people realize that
No, they don't.
this is a very unique community.
Yeah.
I was so impressed by the amount of people supporting us that I didn't know before.
Right.
I didn't know them. So a lot of people calling me, and I remember that before when they gave me the news, before they decided, okay, it's time to leave, they told me, Gabby, don't call us. We're going to keep you updated. And that's how I did it.
Yeah.
I was very respectful of the rules and, I was waiting for them to call me.
That had to be tough.
Yes. I remember that after that first visit, I will say like 30, 40 minutes later, they gave me the first update. We are transferring him to another hospital, bigger hospital. So he is stable.
Right.
And for me, just to hear that he was stable was everything. Right. Okay, he's alive.
Yeah.
We can move with that.
Yeah. And then you learned that eventually he was coming to Walter Reed, right? Is that how that went?
At that time, they told me, we don't know if he's going to be transferred to Landstuhl in Germany or Walter Reed in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So the second day, that's when they finally told me, be prepared, he's going to Washington, D.C.
And at this point, what are you thinking? I mean, you're obviously going to head that way, but you've got a little one.
You know what I was thinking? In my mind, because they were explaining to me his condition, his injury, but I guess that I didn't understand the real damage. Yeah. When they were telling me, hey, his injury, the bullet hit his cervical 3. In my mind, okay, cervical 3, but what is compromising cervical 3?
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was paralyzed.
Right.
No one told me that he was paralyzed.
Right.
So when they finally gave me the orders to go to D.C., I was excited to see him, and I was like, okay, I knew that he was coming, and they told me the plane will arrive on your birthday, September 19th. But I was very excited until I got there around 3:30 p.m., and the airplane wasn't there yet. They arrived around 6:30, and his brother, who lived in Denmark, he was coming with Romulo because he drove from Denmark to Germany. So I was waiting at the hotel room, and his brother came to the room, and he told me, forgive me, and he was crying. And I was like, I don't understand when you say forgive me. And he was like, forgive me because I didn't tell you that he was paralyzed. Romulo is paralyzed from neck down, and he's connected to a ventilator. That moment for me was, I can say that it was even worse than the first time that they gave me the news. because it was processing that, yes, he came, but he came paralyzed, and no one told me about that.
Yeah.
Again, I was like, okay, I was crying, but I was like, I need to see him. Take me to his room. But before we went to his room, I told him, do you know how to pray? And he was like, I mean, well, if you don't know, this is a time to learn. You and I were going to pray. And I remember that we were waiting at this office for someone to come. And we were there praying, but praying hard.
Yeah, for sure.
And after that, I was like, I'm ready. So I went to his room. He was awake. And I remember that the first thing that I told him, hey, you don't remember what day is today? And he was like, no. Well, today's my birthday. Oh, I forgot. He was connected to the events.
Yeah.
But I was reading his lips.
Same.
Yes. And I was like, and you are my best gift.
Yeah.
So that was, our first encounter.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but after that, I remember that more people were coming. That's what I'm saying. The Special Forces community.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable the amount of support. And we're talking about day one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just day one.
I think Carlos Perez called me. I was working at Langley in D.C. at the time, and I think he'd been there. Because he was getting ready to go into the surgery, and Carlos called me, and so I went. But I went over, and I what I distinctly remember was that I could see him in the ICU. I could see the condition he was in, and it really hit me hard. And I also remember you confronting me with the one rule before you went in that room, which was, tell us what that was.
I mean, the number one rule, and I'm talking about first day.
Yeah.
When people started coming to his room, of course, was very intimidating to see him like that.
Yeah.
I completely understand. But I remember telling everyone, I don't want to see anyone crying.
No crying.
In front of him.
Yeah. And I had to I was so amazed by you in that.
The first thing that I was thinking, I was like, okay, he's completely paralyzed.
Yeah.
But his mind, his mind is there. He's able to understand what's going on with him. He wasn't able to eat or drink water, so he was just there.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, imagine every single person crying every time that he was receiving visitors.
The fact that you were able to do that, though,
And
is so amazing to me.
I know.
It's so amazing to me that you had the presence to do that and to advocate like that in that kind of environment. It's just, to this day, I still can't believe it.
I know. And I remember telling every single person, if you don't feel strong to give him the proper support, don't go inside.
You told me. You told me, and I had to get myself together before I went in there,
Yes.
and I felt like a bit of an idiot at the beginning, but you were absolutely right, and what an astounding thing to be able to do, and you've never stopped doing it.
No.
That advocacy, that lioness attitude has been there literally from the very beginning.
Yes. Because I was all about creating I don't want to say the perfect environment for him, but providing him the real support.
Yeah.
Hey, we got it.
Yeah. And it's been every time since then.
Yes.
When something like that. And you know what, the other thing I'm just going to say on this is that you showed the rest of us how to do it. You know what I mean? You showed his teammates. You showed me. You set a standard for
Thank you.
advocating for him that we were able to then do over and over again in the years that followed. And I just it's just astounding to me that you were able to do that. But I'm convinced it was your faith, right? that was
100%. Because if you see the circumstances, sometimes by looking the circumstances can throw you back, or
Yeah.
I mean, you have to see beyond that.
Right.
And that was me. I don't want to look my circumstances. I may not be able to change it, but I'm able to change my attitude in the way that I overcome
Amen.
this.
Amen.
So I was able to do that by trusting God, and believe it or not, I mean, that was everything for me at that time. And even today.
I think it was for everybody. I mean, because it gave Romy a completely different picture of his world.
Yeah.
Right. And you also faced a lot of challenge in the medical community. You were told he will never do this, he will never do that. And talk a little bit about that and how, in the beginning, I mean, when you first were confronted with these realities, how did you handle that when you were told things, he will never do this, or when you were kind of confronted with those kinds of challenges? How did you handle that?
You know what? Going back to your attitude, which is everything, honestly. Even when the doctors were telling me the prognosis, I mean, this is what is going to happen to him.
Yeah.
I decided not to listen to them.
Right.
And I don't want to sound like I didn't care. No. I was listening, but I was listening the things that I want to listen.
Yeah.
When they were talking about he's going to be like that for the rest of his life, I mean, right there in my mind, I was not processing that info.
Right.
So I took the decision to process what I want to hear.
Yeah.
So I remember one day, this doctor, he was a neurosurgeon, very arrogant. He came to the room, it was like 10:30, 11 a.m. And I remember that he told Romulo, have you talked to your doctors? I don't know if they already told you, but you have the same level of injury of Christopher Reeve, and you're not going to be able to walk again. And I remember that I was next to him, and I told Romulo in Spanish, don't listen to him. He's not God. So God is the one who has the last word. Forget about him. Plus he's 5'5". Don't worry about him. I was trying to make a joke just to make him feel good.
Yeah.
Because the things that he was telling him at that time.
Devastating.
Yes. So I told him, don't pay attention to his words. So
he did a fusion surgery in Walter Reed, and then eventually it was about a month at Walter Reed.
A month and a half. We spent a month and a half at Walter Reed.
And then we were blessed that you guys came to Tampa.
Yes.
Monty and I were already here. Carlos and his family was here. There were several people here that were special forces, and that were able to, become an extended part of your family and be and watch what you guys did. But he was assigned to Haley Hospital. You lived in the Fisher house.
Yes.
With Andres. I think your mother-in-law as well was there with her husband was in care as well. What was that like as you got to the Fisher house and he got to the James A. Haley, and now you're kind of looking at the longer road? I guess the dust is clearing, so to speak, and you're looking at the realities of what you're up against.
Yes. It's unbelievable because I remember when we got there the first day that I saw the hospital, and I was walking back to the Fisher house. And I remember having this conversation with God. And I say, hey, you are the boss. I don't know how long we're going to be here. I'm going to take just one day at a time. And from now on, I'm going to imagine that I'm working at the hospital. I have to help me to create a routine because it was very overwhelming. All the changes, dealing with the new reality, now being, with the little one at the Fisher house.
And how old is your son at this
Andres
point?
was 1.5 years.
Wow.
And now we were moving to the Fisher house. Great facility, very convenient for military.
It is an amazing.
It is an amazing facility. They do an amazing job for military families. But it was completely new for me.
Yeah.
And that's when I understood that this country was fighting a war
Yeah.
when I got there.
Yeah.
Because, at Walter Reed, Romulo was in ICU, and I saw a few soldiers wounded, but not like him.
Yeah.
So in my mind, Romulo was the worst case
Right.
at that time. So when I got at the Fisher House, that I was able to meet some family members there with their loved one wounded, and that's when I was very impressed for what I was looking. I mean, you are talking about people with traumatic brain injury, 25 years old, and then I met this mom. Her son's 75% of his body burned. He lost one leg, like 25% of his brain. So I was meeting all these people, and in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I don't think that people realize that we're fighting a war.
I don't think they do today.
No. No.
That's why, honestly, to just kind of pull off a little bit, that's why we did the play. Last out was because I felt like there was just no understanding among people at all about the cost of war and what it impact it has on families. And so as you're processing this, how did you handle that? How did you what did you do that allowed you to keep moving forward and build that routine and not get caught up in that?
Again, as everything, you are gonna find, as every circumstances that you face, you are gonna find pros and cons.
Yeah.
Pros, the good thing about staying at the Fisher House is that I felt, okay, I'm not the only one.
Right.
I belong to this community.
Okay.
Cons, having Andres, running around the Fisher House and not having the privacy, because the Fisher House, think about this, they have 22 rooms.
Yeah.
Beautiful facility. You have your own room, but it's not your house.
No.
And when you have a little one,
And he's wide open too.
Yes, he was very active, always running.
Yeah.
I was a little bit intimidated by that.
Yeah.
And then I decided to create a routine.
Right.
Which honestly was the best thing that I did back then, because it gave me the sense of purpose.
Right.
I told Romulo, Andres is a year and a half, but he's going to start going for the first time to a daycare. So I created a routine for him, and I was going to the hospital at 10:30. I was there 10:30 every day. But remember, in my mind, I was not visiting my husband. I was working at the hospital.
Right.
And why I did it like that? Because I didn't want to count the days.
Yeah.
I don't want to be counting the days.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, I just want to feel like I have to come, because when you are working, even if you like your job or not, you have to work.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let me look for something that can justify coming to the hospital every day.
Just to get you through that day at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I created a routine, and I was there every single day, from 10:30 until 9.
I remember.
Every day I did that for a year and a half.
And the other thing is, as the dust cleared, Romy and I talked a little bit about that, but you realized that breathing was an issue, and the paralysis was an issue. Mm-hmm. And we talked a little bit about the diaphragmatic stimulator. Can you talk a little bit about that and that decision and what that did for Romy in terms of his recovery?
Oh my God. That was in 2009. Think about this. Romulo was wounded on September 16, 2008. We spent a month and a half at Walter Reed. By the time that we got to the James A. Haley, we're talking about almost ending October of 2008. So October, November, December of 2008, he was still recovering.
Yeah.
So in 2009, we met this doctor, and he was the one telling us about the DPS, the diaphragmatic pacer stimulator. But if I go back to 2008, when Romulo was they were trying to winning off the event
Yeah.
to him. That was tough.
Yeah. But so important.
It was important because for those people that doesn't understand paralysis, it's not just that you are not able to move. There are more things involved that behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So in his case, yes, he was completely paralyzed from neck down, but breathing was the number one goal at that time.
Right.
We have to help him to get off the vents.
Yeah.
And I remember that he was suffering, Scott,
Yeah.
during that process. But it's a mindset that you guys is unbelievable. I was amazed to see him.
He's got quite he even said at the end of it when I asked him, what's your secret? He said, never quit.
Still. And you know that I'm his number one fan.
Oh, I know. And he's yours.
Yes.
He made that very clear in our conversation. Now, go ahead.
So he was pushing to the limits. I remember Romulo being off the vents. I mean, first time 5 hours, 6 hours, and then like 12 hours off the vent. That was tough.
Yeah.
So in 2009, February of 2009, I think so, we were invited to go to the Super Bowl breakfast.
Yeah.
And during the breakfast, we had the opportunity to meet this doctor.
Yep.
And as soon as he saw Romulo connected to the vent, because Romulo was going out with the vent, he told him, I can help you. So, of course, we were researching about the device, if it was safe, and all of the protocol. So Romulo became the first soldier to having a DPS. So that was a game changing for.
And you guys continued to do that. Like you continued to set these amazing goals. But I just want to hit something and get your thoughts on it. I don't think people understand that with a diaphragmatic stimulator like that, pacer stimulator, that it doesn't just let you breathe. Like you have to think about every breath you take.
That's correct.
When you're awake. He's on the vent at night, but during the day, you have to think.
Yeah.
So for like over 15, how many years now? I'm doing the math back to the day of when he put this thing in. So
16 years.
16. He's had to think consciously.
Exactly.
And take a breath every single time he breathes during the day.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, that device, by the way, is pretty small, but it changed his life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a blessing.
But when you talk about, I don't think people understand the sacrifice. I mean, we take for granted every day breathing. Right? Just breathing. It's just what we do. We just breathe, right? But he actually has to work for every breath he gets.
Oh, yes. That's how it is. I mean, having the device, the DPS, is definitely a big help for him.
Sure.
But he still
has to work at it.
Yes.
So you all continued the path towards recovery, and then there was a point where you all moved towards a cutting-edge surgery, a procedure in Portugal. Talk about that.
Oh, my God. You know that I was talking to Romulo last week about that because, again, going back to the never quit attitude.
Yeah.
I think that I have a little bit of that as well.
Really? Is that new? When did you get that?
So when we were there, we were very proactive, looking for more options for him. So I remember that I was researching about new procedures in the U.S., outside the U.S., and I found this doctor, Dr. Carlos Lima. And I remember reading about him and reading about his procedure. He was a pioneer in the entire world. So when I found him, I went to the hospital next day and I showed Romulo, hey, I found this doctor. I think that we have an option right here.
Yeah.
because he was a pioneer doing a transplant of stem cells. But his procedure was very unique. He was taking glands from the base of your nose and implanted those cells into your spinal cord. And he was doing that procedure for over 15 years in Europe. And it was approved by the FDA in Europe. But here in the U.S., was considered as an experimental procedure. So I remember telling Romulo, hey, we have an option here. Because going back to your attitude, I never accepted a no for him.
Right.
And even today, after 16 years, I'm still believing that he's going to get up.
Yeah.
And I fight with 1% of faith every day.
Right.
I don't need more than that. But going back to the procedure, so I gave him the information, and Romulo and another doctor, they conducted an extensive research about his procedure. So we decided to petition this procedure to the Army. And I told my husband, hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
He was hesitating a little bit, and I was like, we don't have anything to lose.
I'm starting to see a pattern emerge here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I told Romulo, and let me tell you this, because Romulo, another family, another Wonder Warrior and his wife, they were helping us with the research.
Okay.
He is a paraplegic, and he wanted to petition the same procedure. So two families ready to, petition this procedure, one doctor supporting us. So we were ready. And for the first time, the Army, they put it together a panel of experts.
Right.
Psychologists, neurologists, you name it, 16 people. And the day before our meeting, I remember the night before, he was a little bit nervous. And I told Romulo in the room, Romulo, he was like, and what about if they say no? And I was like, they're going to say yes. And how do you know that? Well, I think that they may say yes because if they say no, tell them what are my options. But don't accept a no.
Yeah.
But what you need to do, I remember telling him this, don't talk to them with medical terminology. Don't talk to them with as you are a doctor. Talk to them as a human being.
Human connection.
Exactly. Talk to him as this father that is ready to take the only option that is available right now for you.
That's so strong.
So they have to say yes.
Yeah.
Because if they say no, what are my options?
There's a saying that what's personal is universal.
Exactly. And I told Romulo, think about this. You pay the price.
Yeah.
You pay the price for this freedom.
Right.
So when you were fighting in Afghanistan, when you were deployed all over the world, you never complained about the time that you were there.
Right.
If you like the mission or not. So now is the time for the government to pay you back.
Yeah.
So let's go and let's pray. They are going to say yes. So we went next day. He did a pretty good presentation, the other family as well. And then after the discussion, all of them decided, they wrote a letter of recommendation. They all agree. We think that you should go, that they should allow you to go. Because the issue was, Romulo was active duty.
Right.
You were talking about an experimental procedure.
Yeah. Stem cell, right?
Stem cells, not approved by the FDA. Who's going to pay for that?
Right.
TRICARE. So that, a lot of implications involved with this.
Right.
So, but they all agree this is the right way to do for them.
Right.
However, we were waiting a few months because the decision was up to Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C. So we were waiting for a few months, and finally the approval came. But they allowed just him to go to Portugal and not the other soldier.
Oh.
So the approval came just for him. So we were super happy, excited. But before I share our whole journey in Portugal, because we spent 17 days in Portugal, for me, it was a huge win.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why. More than the procedure, we were able, for the first time, the DOD, they created a new policy for any service member,
Amazing.
active duty. Now there is a path for them. Now, if you are
To this day.
yes, the policy is in place.
Yeah.
You can apply to a procedure overseas, and they will pay for that.
And I just want to call out that, this all started with a terrible injury, wondering if you were going to make it through, if he was going to make it through. And already you've become the first to get a diaphragmatic stimulator, pacer.
Pacer stimulator.
And then to put in place, to usher in a policy that blazed the trail for others to go get this kind of cutting edge surgery. And so you go to Portugal. What happens there?
From that time, of course, we were super excited, happy, celebrating. Okay, this is the first step. They were in charge of everything, the whole logistic. When they finally say, okay, we are ready, we have been communicating with the team in Portugal, in Lisbon, I think that we are ready. It was a whole mobilization of people. We flew in a private plane from MacDill to Washington, D.C. And then for the first time for me, I was flying in a 617.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good experience. So we flew to Portugal, and the people from the embassy in Lisbon, they were waiting for us at the airport, ambulance, doctors, because it was the first time that...
in history.
Yes. So they did an amazing procedure. By the way, we recorded the procedure.
Wow.
Because they assigned me someone that he speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
So he was with me the entire time, all the time. And I remember that I told him, I want you to be present during this surgery.
Right.
So please record everything.
Wow.
So he did it.
Amazing.
He did it. We gave it to the Department of Army. They have the video. The procedure was great success. Now, after the procedure, we stayed there another 15 days. So in total, 17 days in Lisbon. They were amazing with us. The American Embassy in Lisbon, they did an amazing job.
What were some of the outcomes of the surgery that you noticed in his condition?
The first thing that I noticed, I will say after 3 months post-surgery, Romulo was able to regulate temperature.
Which is huge.
It's huge. Again, when you don't understand spinal cord injuries, you may not know that their thermostat doesn't work at all. So those people are always cold. It doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
They're cold. So for me, think about little things in your daily routine. When I was driving with Romulo in Tampa, 100 degrees outside, you're supposed to have the AC on. So for me, I had the heater on.
Wow.
Because Romulo was cold.
Wow.
Or blankets and all of that. So the first thing that I noticed after 3 months post-surgery was that one, that he was able to feel, I'm feeling hot.
Nice.
Cold, and that was huge.
Yeah.
And then I'm talking about internal changes.
Yeah.
Of course, we were expecting to see more movement, regaining some movement back. And, he was able to feel, before he was paralyzed from neck down, after the surgery, he started feeling this area right here.
Okay.
His shoulders. So when they did another test, now he was like a cervical 5 level.
Wow.
So small changes, I was expecting to see a little bit more, but we were happy with those
Yeah.
changes.
And then what also came with it was a level of functional movement.
Yes.
And action-oriented exercises.
Yes.
Because that was part of the regimen, right?
That was part of the regimen.
Post-surgical regimen.
Yes.
How did that change things for you all in terms of, because he was always big on working out and, even before the injury, obviously, but the fact that it was so important to do this kind of really intense workout, how did that change?
Oh, it changed everything. And the reason why is as soon as we came back from the surgery and he started conducting therapy at the VA, one of the keys or the recommendations that Dr. Lima told us and gave us, he was like, he needs an intense physical rehabilitation.
Right.
So I remember talking, having a meeting at the VA, talking to the doctors, we have to change the protocol. If it's the first one, so let's introduce new tools so we can maximize the time that he's working out at the VA. But again, it's all about, the VA is a system with the system is broken.
Yeah.
And we were trying our best. I remember talking to the doctors about the possibility of having me as another, person helping him during the therapy. I was like, okay, if he's going to be working out just one-on-one, I can be part of the team. And so let's be more aggressive. But they couldn't add that, component. And that's when I decided, okay, we have to activate Plan B. Because if this therapy is not going to be enough for you, we have to look for another option.
And what was Plan B?
Plan B was to look for another rehab center.
Yeah.
And I decided to go to Michigan.
Yeah.
We were both researching about more places in the U.S. and we found this one in Michigan. So I flew to Michigan. I spent 3 days. And the only thing that I did in 3 days was sitting in the facility, inside the facility, looking all the modalities.
Yeah.
And I was amazed by the workout that they were doing.
Right. Right.
But and then another conflict, he's still active duty. TRICARE doesn't pay for that. We were facing another challenge. So they didn't approve it. And again, Romy and I were very persistent.
Yeah.
So we were looking for more options, and that's when we found another rehab center in Orlando.
And you guys worked out there for a while, but I remember that just the trip to Orlando across I-4.
Horrible.
And how much that took out of Romy, how much that took out of you. I have to ask you, as his spouse, his bride, and looking at the caregiving responsibilities, how do you handle that? How did you handle that then? What was your philosophy on that?
Being a caregiver is not an easy role.
Yeah.
Regardless, having a husband paralyzed or with another condition, I guess that you are giving care 24/7. Plus, you have this feeling that it's your responsibility when it's not.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy role. I'm all about taking one day at a time. I have been learning how to be patient and to understand him. Because it's not just that he's paralyzed. We're talking about little things like scratch my head.
Yeah.
Can you scratch my head? You can do the same thing, not just one time.
Right.
2, 3, 4, 5 times. And you have to do it. And because he's not able to do that by himself. In my case, just to breathe and let's do it again. We can do it. And always doing mental hygiene. I do it every single day. even until now. Trying to look for things that made me disconnect for a little bit
Yeah.
of my who I am.
Like a micro reset kind of.
Yes, resetting your mind. You have to.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's not easy. But at the same time, again, I guess that I always try to look the positive things of every situation that I'm facing.
Yeah.
Because I always say that I was born to see life with colors. That's who I am.
Well, when Romy started the work in Orlando, I mean, that type of workout really created a game change, right? I mean,
Yes, 100%.
what were some of the things that you saw in that?
Well, one of the biggest differences that I saw between traditional therapy and what they were doing over there is that they were providing 2 or 3 people working per patient. So think about this. Romulo at the VA was working just with the therapist, one-on-one, 45 minutes session. So we go to this place, and now he's working out with 2 or 3 people for 2 hours, and even 3 hours.
Yeah.
It was up to you. So the trip was brutal.
Right.
And the reason why the routine started at 6 a.m., having Romulo ready, it takes about an hour and a half.
Yeah, again, something people don't understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just getting ready for the day.
Just getting ready for the day.
Yeah.
And then breakfast. So we were leaving the house around 8:30 maybe. And then the trip was almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours, and he was starting the therapy at 11.
Right.
For 2 more hours. So we were coming back around 1:30, exhausted.
Just worn out.
Doing just one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Workout.
So the results are there, but it's wearing you down. And now you're starting to look at retirement's getting close because he stayed on active duty. And an idea starts to pop in your head.
Yes. I remember after doing that routine twice a week, by the way.
Yeah.
We were traveling to Orlando twice a week.
Yeah.
And I will say after 6 months, I was super tired. And I was telling him, I remember telling him on the way there one day, let's be realistic. How long do you think that we're going to keep doing this? Because right now we have the time, the desire, we believe that we can do it, but you have to be realistic. And I think that we're not going to be able to do this for too long.
Right.
So why we don't open up our own rehab center in Tampa?
And what did he say?
Oh my God, Scott.
Does he know, like, when you're getting ready to come at him with one of these ideas, like, I mean, he has to know it's coming.
Yeah, but at that time,
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, no, you're crazy. Don't start creating ideas. I know you. We were fighting. No, you know how we are.
Right.
And I was like, Romulo, I think that we can do it.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot of work. It is. It's a lot of work. But think about this. You have a lot of visibility in the community.
Yeah.
So I think that if we pull together all the people that we know, we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you were the first person.
I remember.
Because,
Yep.
I mean, for me, it took me a while to convince him to do this. And I understand why he didn't want to do it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because Romulo was focusing more on his recovery.
Yeah.
He didn't want to add more responsibilities on his table, I guess. But when he was ready, you were the first person that came to his mind.
Oh, that meant a lot.
He was like, let's talk to Scott.
Yeah.
And I remember that day.
Yeah. We sat around your table. You guys ambushed me. They ambushed me, Colin.
Yeah, but you know what,
It was a good
Scott?
ambush.
I thank God every day for what you did for us, everything that you have done for us. Still, our friendship.
I know, it's amazing.
Because at that time, you gave us the direction about things that we didn't know. Something simple like writing a business plan, remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this whole idea was completely new, how we're going to execute this plan.
Yeah, but you had such a vision. Was that vision always, I mean, did you see it like clearly? 'Cause
Yes.
it seemed to me that
Yes.
you did.
Yes. But I didn't know, I mean, I didn't have the knowledge, the tools, because I was not an entrepreneur. So it was a new journey for us.
Sure.
But I had a vision since day one. What I saw, because let me go back, while he was conducting therapy at the VA,
Yeah.
I saw the gap in the system
Yeah.
immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember,
Talk about that gap.
this is my humble opinion, coming from someone that has been dealing with this reality for 16 years. The system is not prepared. The United States is always involved in different wars around the world, always fighting or supporting other countries.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that when you have those casualties coming back home, the system is not ready for that.
Nope.
So here's my husband coming back from Afghanistan, full quadriplegic. He became the first one using a pacer stimulator. He became the first one. And it's not about protagonism. We're not looking for credit.
No,
what
I
I'm
know.
saying is that we saw the gap and we had to conduct our own research. We had to...
Bottom up. Everything was bottom up.
Everything. So I saw soldiers coming back home, and the system was not prepared for that.
Yeah.
They gave my husband this power chair, and I guess that in their minds, that was everything
Mission
for him.
complete, right?
And I was like, no. How you are going to tell this guy, special forces, ranger, different mindset, that is over for him? It doesn't work like that. No.
I remember you saying that, and that's actually what got me.
Yeah.
You know, because you're like, that can't be the end of the mission right there.
No. And I saw the gap in the system. I told Romulo, we have to do something about it.
Yeah.
Because right now you have a lot of attention, visibility, but you are not the only one. More soldiers are coming back wounded.
Right.
And your time is going to pass. And if we don't do something now, I'm going to have a husband that is now depressed.
Yeah.
Because his life is over. And I don't want to see that. I can deal with a physical impediment. I can deal with paralysis. But I don't want to deal with PTSD or depression.
No, I got
So-
it. Especially if it could be prevented.
Exactly.
And what I also loved about what you did at the time, I thought it was really, really cool, was you didn't just stop with the military population either.
No.
There was a perspective that you had on spinal cord injury at the larger level that you felt like needed to be addressed as well, right? Because how did you explain it to me? You said that there's just this typical, and a lot of it's insurance or whatever, but there's just this level of atrophy that occurs, and then care just stops for all spinal cord injury patients, and it doesn't have to be that way.
No. And hope is everything.
Yeah.
So when I saw the gap and we were talking about, let's do this. I know that we can do this. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's when you came on board, thank God. And when we finally decided, okay, this is a project, we can raise the funds. I remember telling Romulo, if we're going to do this, let's open up the center for everyone living the same reality.
Yeah.
Our heart is with the military community, but let's open the center for everyone living with the spinal cord
I think
injuries.
what it represents, Gabby, is such an important lesson that our veterans and our military family members can do so much here at home after the war. Like, they're great leaders. They have an understanding of gaps. Mm-hmm. And, you know, what you all did was, I mean, it would have been one thing to just focus on the military gap, and that would have been fine. Mm-hmm. But the fact that as a veteran family, you said, no, wait, this gap is community-wide. This gap is nationwide. We're going to address that. I guess I'm just calling that out because I think that's something that you all have really shown us for the entire veteran population is that we can do that in our own ways. Is we don't have to just do the things that are reserved for the military community or the veterans. We can make an impact at a community level, a state level, a federal level. But it's that veteran military family member special sauce that can contribute at a broad level.
Yes, yes. I guess that we as a society, we have the tendency to be more reactive than proactive.
Yeah.
So in my case, I knew that I had to do something with Romulo and that we can be the light for others. I was like, hey, let's use your visibility to help others. We can do it.
Do you ever look back on that time period though and go like, because we had nothing, we had nothing. You didn't have a building. What do you think made that possible? And I know I certainly believe faith was part of it, but what if you were going to like go back and say, here's a couple of things I learned in standing this thing up from nothing, what would you say?
Determination. I would say that it was key because I remember that for the first 6 months, we didn't raise not even one.
Not anything. Well, maybe just a little,
just
but
a
not
few,
much, like $100.
I
think that was from my mom.
I remember that we were a little bit disappointed. We were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But it was like, we both, because, Romy and I, we were a team.
Yeah.
And I remember talking, hey, we can do it.
Yeah.
Let's keep believing that this is going to happen. Let's keep moving all the pieces. Let's keep spreading the word out.
And we were traveling all over the place. Do you remember you guys flew to California? We flew to New York City. I was driving all around a minivan.
You remember New York?
But I think that, that started to galvanize people's opinions. But to me, the ultimate change in all of it was when you took Mr. Nagata around that empty building and shared your vision. When you started telling the story to people, as you saw it in your mind, I think that other people started to see it.
Yes, because I'm a firm believer that, you are talking about the North America CEO, Japanese guy.
Yeah.
They don't show emotions.
We weren't even on his agenda.
Exactly. You have to be yourself and talk from your heart.
Yeah.
Talk about your why.
Yeah.
What motivates you to do that. And that's what I did that day.
You did.
I was not trying to impress Mr. Nagata at all.
You did the same thing you advised Romy to do with that board.
Exactly.
Right? Just to talk like a human.
Yes.
Make a connection.
Exactly. I remember that in my mind, he may be the CEO, but at the end of the day, we are all humans. So I was not trying to impress him at all. And I was just sharing our story with him.
Yeah.
And I guess that resonated.
It worked.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but you went into the one room. There was one room that it was the kids' room.
Yeah.
And it didn't even have a light in it.
Yeah.
Like the light didn't work. And you told him, you said, this is going to be our kids' room.
Yes.
And you said, Andres, when Romy was in the Haley Hospital, he would be in his room and he'd play on the toilet.
Yeah.
And our kids are not going to do that here.
Yes.
And I can just remember looking over at Romy, and Romy gave me this look like he's toast. Like that was so beautifully done. And I just think he saw it too, And then we get the news, right? That
Yes. Well, when I say that, I don't know. I don't want to say every person in Japan, but that they don't show emotions. I remember that when I showed him the room, he was a little bit emotional.
He was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And after that meeting, it went very well. You remember that. I will say a week later, that's when we received the check.
Yeah.
The donation. They basically gave us the last push.
And I just think that to be standing in a facility that had nothing in it, crap hanging out of the ceiling, no equipment, and for you to take a guy who, frankly, was very skeptical, and you walked him around and you told him a story of a vision that you had that didn't even exist yet. Mm-hmm. And he was able to locate himself in that. And it was so personal. It was so compelling. I just think there's so much to that. When we think about building things that are difficult or challenging, it really is just the vision and the story, isn't it?
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And even now, every time that we have the opportunity to talk about what we do, we never, in our agenda, we never have this idea of convincing people about what we do.
Yeah.
Because I think that number one is tangible. And number two, people can see our commitments. We live the reality, so we don't have to convince anyone.
Every day. What would you say now, as we kind of move towards the end here? When we're going to talk about the new center, but what does Stay in Step do that makes it so different, that makes it so special in this? Because it's not just spinal cord injury anymore. What is it that you all do? And maybe give us an example or two of like really big impact that you've seen on people.
Well, number one, Staying in Step is very family oriented.
Yeah.
I think that when you face this type of challenges, you are talking about a family issue. It's not an individual issue, and you know that. So I'm all about integrating the family in the recovery process. That's very unique. So every new patient that goes to the center, they receive this personal treatment.
Yeah.
We make them feel welcome. You belong to our community. And we cannot promise you that you are going to work again, but we can promise you that we're going to try everything. And we can customize the program just for you.
Right.
We do that with the patients. We are basically investing time in their recovery, something that unfortunately our healthcare system in this country is not willing to do for the patients.
No, it's not. It's
because just to give you an idea, I recently, I will say like 3 days ago, I didn't know this. Before, insurance used to pay 120 days therapy.
Right.
Now it's just 30 days.
Which is nothing.
It's nothing. So do you think that someone with a traumatic brain injury can recover with 30 days?
Of course not. No.
Because they're all about show me improvement. We can show you improvement, but you have to give me time.
Yeah.
And that's something that we are willing to invest. So another thing very unique about the center is every patient work out with 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
That's one of the differences.
Yeah. A lot of specialized attention.
Exactly.
Yeah. With really qualified trainers.
Qualified
and
trainers.
Clinicians.
And then we try to provide the latest technology.
Yeah. The equipment is unbelievable.
Exactly. So those are the type of things that we are willing to provide to our community, because at the end of the day, we want to maximize their time that when they're at the center working out. I mean, you want to take advantage of everything.
When you look back on the center and all of the things it's done, is there one case in particular that sticks out in your mind that like you're most proud of, or someone you helped? Or
Well, it's been 9.5 years, and you have sometimes this emotional attachment to certain people.
Yeah.
Not just the patients, I mean, caregivers that I can say that I identify a lot, that we have been sharing a lot of things. One of my closest friends, her son, Patricia, he's still coming to the center after 9 years.
Yeah. He's an amazing young man.
Yes. But I can remember from the top of my head, this guy, he had an accident. I guess that it was at his house, paraplegic. I remember that he came in a manual chair, and then he started working out like 4 days a week. Remember, every injury is unique.
Yeah.
You can have 2 people with the same level of injury,
Yeah.
and maybe one is want to walk, and the other one, who knows?
Yeah.
So that's what we cannot promise anyone, that they may walk again. But there are some cases that we have seen a lot of progress. And this one in particular, he came in a manual chair, and after a few months, he was able to walk with a walker.
Wow.
And then with a cane. So now he's walking.
Literally walked again.
Yes, he's walking. I mean, he doesn't walk like you and I,
Right.
but he's walking and he's regaining feelings.
Wow.
So I remember that we invited him to talk during our sixth gala. He was one of our speakers that day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. When you saw the demand signal start to grow in that little 5,000 foot facility that we managed to open, you got a new vision.
Yes.
And tell us about that.
It was a time to decide, okay, are we staying or are we leaving? And that was 3 years ago. We were facing that reality of extending the lease or leaving. But the market was pretty tough when
Yeah.
we were looking for facilities. One more time, praying for that. Because I always tell God, I'm willing to do the work,
Right.
but you have to help us.
Right.
Open a big door for us. And we found this facility, 10,000 square feet, that we were able to secure.
Which is gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Thank you. I think that little by little, we have been doing an amazing job. We renovated the facility, but now we're adding more services because every time that you talk to clients, family members, I guess that the ultimate goal for us is to have all the services in one place and to become a multidisciplinary center. Because I was sharing with you the time that we were spending in Orlando just doing one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we have people coming to the center to receive one service and then driving to another place for speech therapy.
Right.
Or other
OT.
service, OT. Now
Yeah.
we're providing occupational therapy at the center.
Right.
But the vision is to have all the services under one roof. So it's just one stop for caregivers. You can plan the day and facilitate the daily routine. I mean, you have to plan, as a caregiver, you have to create a plan. How many times a week are you taking your loved one to do rehabilitation? I mean, rehabilitation it shouldn't be optional. It's mandatory. And it's not just to regain movement back, Scott. It's just to provide them a better quality of life. I mean, Romy and I, we were able to travel around the country because he was in good shape,
Yeah.
in good condition.
You're right.
I mean, if you want to have a real good quality of life for these people, you have to give them the tools, the resources, until they find, people, the doctors, until they find the cure, you have to keep active, engaged. Plus, there's another aspect beyond the physical aspect, which is the mental and the emotional aspect. How do you bring back those people into society again? How do you help them to regain confidence when they may think that their life is over?
Yeah.
So when they come to the center, we promote, hey, we are a community.
Well, look at the X Games that you guys do, like at
The
the
ability
gym.
games.
The ability games. It's amazing.
We have been doing it for 7 years.
Yeah, and it's incredible.
Let's highlight the abilities more than disabilities. I mean, whatever you can do, let's bring it to the table. In the games, I mean, it's an amazing concept.
They're really intense.
Yes.
And I mean, it's really grown. Like it's
It's
grown into a
growing.
real thing.
Yes.
And you all, again, you saw the gap, you fill it. It's just a pattern that you keep going. So if I understand the vision of where you're going now is to create more and more of a one-stop functionality.
Exactly.
And you're also taking on traumatic brain injury, Parkinson's, other things
Yes.
that affect mobility.
LS, MS, and stroke.
Okay. What would you say to caregivers who are dealing with, like my mom who was dealing with stroke, or like Gianni's mom who's all of a sudden looking at my son's buddy who was a Marine, catastrophic motorcycle accident, all of a sudden now is looking at a traumatic brain injury of a loved one? What would you say to caregivers who are just now finding themselves in that spot that you found yourself in when you got that phone call on your birthday?
Don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, the path may look long, but it's worth it. I mean, don't give up. One of the things that I always recommend everyone, caregivers, start learning about the system. I always try to provide them some directions about navigating the system because, believe it or not, people are lost. They don't know the benefits that they are entitled to. I always recommend them to create a regimen at home,
Yeah.
a system at home. That is key
Right.
because routine may looks like doing the same thing every day may not work, but it works, and it will facilitate your daily life. I mean, again, it's a learning process.
Yeah.
It's a learning process, but I think that when you create a system at home, that will facilitate you the rest. I did that. I created a system where I have people helping me. I know everything about his care,
Yeah.
everything, and I do it. But I also have someone helping me, to take care of him or cleaning the house.
Yeah.
Because you want to have some time for you.
You have to, right?
You have to.
I want to just throw something out that maybe you might think about in your one-stop place there in the new facility Colin, I'm thinking as a podcast studio
Oh, yeah.
where you could do what we're doing right here. You brought it up for caregivers.
Yeah.
I think that there's I think the big ranger up there has a special plan for you on that one. I really do. And I would ask folks watching this, let us know, send us comments on what you think about Gabby running a podcast for caregivers. I think it would be incredible. I'd love to get your feedback on it, and then we'll share it with you.
Thank you,
and what
Scott.
people
I think that the need is there.
It's definitely there. And
There
this
are
kind of
people-
conversation could be huge.
Yes, the people. I mean, I see their struggles.
Yeah.
I see caregivers being anxious about the uncertain,
Yeah.
and I think that God is being so good with me.
Yeah.
God has been amazing with me, and I feel in my heart that I have to share with others
Yeah.
all my knowledge, my experiences. I mean, traveling with Romulo. What do I face every time that I travel? How do I do it?
Would be amazing.
So I
useful.
think that, believe it or not, every little thing counts
It does.
because people are looking for answers, options, hope.
Yeah.
Hope
Yeah.
is everything.
Yeah, that's when people ask me why is story so important. I said because stories give us hope. You know, when
Exactly.
you would tell the story of the kids' room, you gave hope. It was just a room with no light in it, But when you see it, we see it, and you've done that for us, Gabby. You've done that for my family. You've done that for Romy. I asked Romy what he means to you. Tell us what. I'm sorry, what you mean to him. Tell us what Romy means to you.
Oh my God. He amazed me every day. We have been together in September, will be 25 years.
Nice.
Romulo, he's a very special person. Even now, I mean, after 16 and a half years, he wakes up every morning. How are you doing, baby? I'm doing well. How are you doing? Excellent. And he's connected to the vent, and he's still, paralyzed. His strength, I mean, is something that, honestly, I see God through him.
Yeah.
That's the best answer that I can give you.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's not his strength. There is something more powerful.
At work there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We have an excellent relationship. He's my best friend. Whatever I need to do to him, I always tell him, I will be your arms and legs until you walk again.
Mm-hmm.
So my best partner, Romulo, is the heart of everything that we have been doing over the last 16 years.
Well,
He is a person inspiring me every single day to not give up.
You're the heart of what we do, and you inspire us, everybody watching this. And thank you for the years that you've inspired us, and we can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you,
include
Scott.
the podcast. All right, everybody. We're going to wrap it there. I want to thank you for dialing into this. I want to thank you for being part of this important conversation. I may get Romy and Gabby to answer a question or two out in the lobby that we'll put on Patreon because they're really funny when they're together. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you get a chance, leave us a review. Share the podcast with those that could use it. Until next time, we'll see you on the rooftop.